If you deal with narcissists, follow how God deals with them. You will win. Have you ever felt like you're giving your all, only to be met with manipulation and selfishness in return? Narcissism isn't something new. It's been around for centuries, and even God had to face it. In this video, we're going to explore the timeless strategies God used to deal with narcissists, and how you can apply these same principles to protect yourself from toxic relationships. Stick around, because I'm also sharing a powerful free tool that'll help you handle manipulative people with strength and grace. But before we dive into those divine tactics, let's talk about why you might be struggling to handle narcissists in your life the way God did. Understanding this will save you from years of confusion and guilt. Picture this. Have you ever worn 3D glasses at the movies? Everything pops, right? But if you try to wear them outside the theater, the world becomes blurry. Well, that's exactly what happens when we misunderstand how to handle toxic people. It's like you're seeing the situation, but not clearly. This distorted perspective can lead you straight into the narcissist trap. Let's unpack this together and get you back in control. Imagine if I told you that you've been unknowingly wearing a pair of glasses this entire time, shaping the way you view everything, especially people. You may not even realize it, but these glasses were likely given to you by someone close to you. Maybe a well-intentioned family member, a friend, or even the narcissist themselves. No, not actual glasses, but rather a distorted lens that alters your perception of how God would handle difficult people. Unfortunately, because of these misguided views, you might be navigating relationships with toxic individuals in a way that's not only unbiblical, but could also lead you into harmful mistakes. Let's take a moment to adjust our perspective and put on the right lens, one that aligns with how God truly wants you to handle these challenging situations. We often believe that by being patient and tolerant with others, we are reflecting God's love. But in reality, this approach doesn't always reflect love. At times, it merely enables sinful behavior. Think about the times you've avoided confronting a narcissist, believing it wouldn't be loving. How many times have you remained in a relationship with someone who repeatedly hurts you, thinking you were called to stay and offer them Christ's love? Often, this idea of love is intertwined with the belief that confrontation is unloving, but nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, God never shied away from difficult conversations when the situation called for it. He understood when it was pointless to keep trying to help someone, but he also didn't hesitate to rebuke the Pharisees and religious leaders for their hypocrisy. His actions show us that confronting toxic behaviors is not only necessary but is, in fact, an act of love. Let's explore what the Bible truly conveys, and we can see the clarity in Matthew 23:27, where it states, "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, you pretenders! You are like tombs that are painted white, which appear pristine on the outside, but inside are filled with the bones of the dead and all kinds of filth. In the same way, you seem righteous to others, but inside you are filled with hypocrisy and wickedness." That's the God the narcissist doesn't want you to follow, the one who calls out falsehoods and doesn't tolerate deception, all while upholding what true love is. This love isn't about tolerance in the face of sin. It's about confronting it for your own good. His love compels him to bring correction, because his heart desires to save, not to indulge your wrongdoings. Now you might be asking, I get that I shouldn't enable this behavior, but how do I manage the overwhelming guilt when someone demands something from me that I don't want to give? How is saying no in line with being like Christ? Many believe that God was always available for every request, thinking that because he was divine, he would never refuse anyone. But that's a major distortion of the truth. The idea that God had no boundaries is not only unfeasible, but also unbiblical. He took on human form, with limitations just like ours: time, energy, resources, and desires. He worked within these boundaries with intentionality, and he never allowed anything or anyone, be it a demon or a narcissist, to distract him from his mission, which was clear and uncompromising. We do witness God offering healing, teaching, and performing miracles, yes. However, you never see him waste his energy on those who weren't interested in following him, on those who refused to acknowledge their wrongdoings and take responsibility for their actions. God didn't spend endless days or weeks trying to convince them to choose a better path. He simply offered the truth, and if they turned away, he let them go, keeping his eyes fixed on his mission. Just like God, you have a purpose, my friend. And while Satan can't strip you of your salvation, he can certainly try to pull you off course and derail your purpose. This is often done through toxic people, especially narcissists, who can easily entangle you in a web of confusion. They'll distort the idea of Christ-likeness, convincing you that being more like God means tolerating their behavior. But the truth is, the one thing that feels the least Christ-like. Setting boundaries is exactly what you need to do. Even God established boundaries with those who were more interested in his miracles than his message. Take a look at John 6:15. He didn't hesitate to set limits with the people he loved, as seen in Luke 5:16, when he would withdraw to solitary places for prayer. We often believe we must be everything for everyone, but God, who was far more needed than any of us, didn't do that. He rejected being made king, refused to let the Pharisees take more than he was willing to give, and didn't reveal himself before his time, no matter the pressure, even from his own mother. The idea that God would never say no is deeply flawed. His love was not about constant approval or tolerance. It was about challenging others to grow and take responsibility for their own actions. In the same way, setting boundaries is not unloving. It's essential for both your well-being and the protection of your purpose. No matter how strong your love or how firm your boundaries, my friend, there comes a time when you'll need to rely on this essential trait in your interactions. But if you misapply it, it's like installing a top-tier security system in your home, only to leave every door and window open to invaders. This misunderstanding is a trap for many believers, especially when it's used to manipulate you. You've likely heard it before. Doesn't God tell you to forgive? That line alone can make even the most secure Christians second-guess themselves, wondering, am I being too harsh? Maybe they're right. Perhaps I should let it go. Yes, we are indeed called to forgive, as shown in Luke 17:3. However, the mistaken belief that forgiveness means allowing people to keep harming us is far from biblical truth. God teaches, if your brother sins, rebuke him, and if he repents, forgive him. And if he sins against you 7 times a day, and turns to you 7 times saying, I repent, you must forgive him. Here's the critical part that's often overlooked. Forgiveness doesn't require trust. Even God forgives, but that doesn't mean he automatically trusts. Why? Because he's not naive. He may forgive you for being reckless with money, but it doesn't mean he's going to hand it back to you right away. He forgives you for your mistakes, but that doesn't mean the consequences vanish or trust is instantly restored. This same principle applies when dealing with narcissists. They will repeat their harmful actions, whether it's lying to protect themselves or manipulating situations to benefit their own needs. You will need to forgive them, no doubt. But if you believe forgiveness automatically means trust, or that forgiving equals everything going back to normal, you're setting yourself up for another round of manipulation. So the next time a narcissist pulls the forgive me card, you can stand your ground. Look them in the eye and say, I'm not struggling to forgive you. I'm struggling to trust you based on your behavior. Are you willing to earn my trust back? This will quickly reveal if they genuinely seek reconciliation or if they're simply trying to control the situation. When you reach this point, the next step you take can make all the difference between keeping your peace or being trapped in a never-ending cycle of conflict.